This is Jonathan Aguilar, fifth Pro Boxing fans, joined by Gareth A Davies. Gareth, you are about to head to Riyadh for Itauma against White. Have you ever done a fight in Riyadh in August?
Whew, that's a good question. I was actually just wanting to Jonathan Agioff. You allied the two ends, so you always call yourself Jonathan Agioff.
I could, yeah.
And I quite like the Agioff. It's got a fight ring about it. You know, you
Right.
can call me Gad, but I can call you Agioff.
Let's go with that.
Okay. No, have I done a fight week in August? I'm noticing that not everyone's going. Everyone's represented, but the big crew, people like yourself, Mr. Lenihan is not there. There's some understudies going to this one. Um, there's a big bare knuckle event in Denver, Colorado this weekend as well. There's UFC, Chimaev against Dricus du Plessis as well. It's kind of an unusual event this in August. There isn't normally a lot of boxing in August. All the events are 9 p.m., by the way, the set
Mm.
pieces, which you won't miss, you know?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. It's going to be a lot hotter than usual, right?
Yeah, but I love the heat. I mean, it's ridiculous heat.
Yeah.
I think it's in the 40s at the moment out there. So, yeah, it's going to be a hot week, but the hottest prospect in boxing potentially is headlining the card. So it's one of those that I don't want to kind of rub it into you and say you may not want to be there, you may be away, you may be off, but it's almost unmissable. You'll certainly be watching it. It's kind of unmissable to see how Moses Itauma gets on against Dillian Whyte. His first really big name on his resume, on Moses Itauma's resume, and a pretty good card that should deliver with five decent fights. Um, so it should be good. I'm looking forward to seeing how Moses holds the week together. I'm looking forward to seeing if Dillian gets stuck into him, which I hope he will a little bit, both in the fight and beforehand. But Dillian has mellowed a little in the last 2 or 3 years, and he doesn't do all that kind of warrior stuff leading into the fights that he used to be. But hopefully this week will be different.
Well, why do you think he doesn't do that as much anymore?
He's mature. He's
Yeah.
matured. He maintains all his emotional energy until the fight night. And however way you look at it with Dillian, he's only lost to Anthony Joshua, Alexander Povetkin that he avenged, and Tyson Fury. So really, he's had a very successful career. When you look at Oscar Rivas was an underrated victory in my view. Lucas Brown he knocked out brilliantly. Um, um, Derek Chisora, two fights. Joseph Parker, Povetkin. It's just slowed in the last few years his career. That's the problem. You know, troubles inside and outside the ring and injuries and so on. So it's a big moment for Dillian Whyte as well as Moses Itauma at 37, where he's fighting the WBO number one, who's only had 25 rounds, professional rounds in his career, and he's 37 fights deep and 200 rounds to the good. So all the odds point to a Moses Itauma victory, and most people in the sport believe Moses is going to win. But there's something niggling that you can't completely write Dillian off in this fight.
Are you aware of any of the details around the fight? If Dillian does pull off the upset, do you think there'll be a rematch? Is there a rematch coming?
Yeah, instinctively, depending on how it goes, like if Dillian gets a flash knockout early on, they will want to put Moses back in there with him, I'm sure, to prove a point that it was a flash in the pan. But this heavyweight boxing, and it might happen, you just don't know. My feeling is that Moses's handlers, Frank Warren, George Warren, and Francis Warren, his manager, they and Ben Davison, they wouldn't want to be putting him in this early in his career after just 12 fights if they didn't believe that he was going to win this fight because there's too many risks involved for someone that's spoken about so highly, who people believe will take over the heavyweight division and might make it his era all the way up to say 2028, 2030. They believe that I think he will do a number on Dillian Whyte, but the young man himself is not overlooking Dillian, and that's very obvious in the interviews I've seen him give and the ones he's given to me.
Now, we were both there last year around this time in Los Angeles, and we saw Bacoli go in there and shock Jared Anderson. And Tyson Fury said that he wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened again. Do you see any parallels between that?
Yeah, potentially, but it all depends on. I mean, I think Jared Anderson was the comparisons are that Jared Anderson was the coming force in American heavyweight
Yeah.
boxing, and Moses is obviously seen as, amongst others, at the very beginning of his career, Fabio Wardley, Lawrence Okoli. You can't write these other young heavyweight fighters off as well. Maybe David Adeleye if he goes well against Filip Hrgovic on Saturday night in Riyadh. I still think Hrgovic will win that fight, but Adelaye's got to go hard, fast, educated pressure early on, go to the Adam Booth game plan and try and make a name for himself. Yeah, I think I do see the parallels, but I think we're dealing with something slightly different in Moses, even though maybe we're all getting a little bit too excited too early. But the problem is, if he does look very effective against Dillian and gets him out of there inside 5 rounds, I can foresee a fight with Joseph Parker next for the WBO title if that belt becomes vacant, if Alexander Usyk chooses to relinquish the belt or vacate the belt, as mandated by the WBO, if that fight with Parker doesn't happen. Parker against he needs a tune-up probably, but Parker against Moses is a massive fight in the UK and another step up. The problem Moses has got, Jonathan, Mr. Agioff, is that if he looks really good against Dillian, there's no coming back from this. It's top 15 fighters for the next 4 years of his career.
And on that point, I remember you did a piece with Moses, I believe, for the Telegraph earlier this year. Might have been the end of last year.
That was the
And
beginning. It was early this year. I went to see him
beginning
in
of this
January.
year. Yeah.
Yeah,
So obviously he doesn't do tons of media, from what I've seen. This week he'll have to do quite a lot, and especially if he beats a name like Dillian Whyte, he's gonna, like you say, kind of be thrown in there. Do you feel like he's ready for that aspect of it, or is that not even
I
relevant?
do because he. I mean, he was on Talksport last week. He did a roundtable national media grouping on Thursday as well. He was very, very good. Obviously, I can't give anyway the details out. The guys are using it over the next few days. But he was. He's very good at answering a question that you give him with a question. He's very switched on. The radar's on. And I always say this about Moses. He's got enough arrogance that you like it about him. He's just got that tinge of arrogance. He's not in awe of anyone. He believes in himself. He doesn't like you pushing it forward too much. He questions you pushing it forward. He gets where you're trying to take him, and in that way, I love how switched on he is. And I say with that arrogance is because he knows what he can do in the ring. He knows what he's capable of. But he's also aware of how dangerous the heavyweight division is, and you can be upended by one punch in the heavyweight division. So I don't think he's taking Dillian Whyte lightly. I think he knows it's his biggest challenge. He knows he's in against a very experienced fighter. And I think Dillian, who we know is being well paid for this, in the millions, should really try and get into Moses' head this week. That's what I'm looking forward to, seeing the repartee, seeing the mind games that Dillian might be able to play against Moses, even though Dillian's not really that character anymore. As I say, there's a newfound maturity in him over the last few years. So it's intriguing because This is a test for Moses. There's no question about it. This is the first name on his record, the first big name on his record. A guy with a cult following in the heavyweight division, and someone who everyone believes he will put away in the first. Well, certainly his fans believe he'll put away in the first half of the fight. He's got to go out there and do it and prove it.
And lastly, on this fight, how do you expect Dillian to approach it? We've seen a lot of people commenting on the shape he's in. He looks in good shape. Do you think he's going to try and sort of box the first half of the fight and then try and take Itama out, or do you think he's going to
I
look
think
for
he's
an
got.
early
I
knockout?
think he's got to squeeze the space, use educated pressure, use everything he knows, not be slow to the punch, get his jab working fast, get in range to throw that left hook. He's going to have to watch the counters of Moses Itauma, the uppercut and the left hand. Those could be dangerous punches for Dillian. It's not like he's never been knocked out. He's been stopped 3 times in his career by Anthony Joshua, by Alexander Povetkin, by Anthony Joshua. All uppercuts, so left hands, dangerous punches. It's a dangerous fight for him as well, because if he wins this, he projects himself probably into a rematch with Moses Itauma, as we said earlier, or a fight with Joseph Parker. If he loses, where does he go from here? It's difficult to say. He probably even loses out with the 50th fight with Derek Chisora. But it's how and what happens in this fight that really counts. I don't want to write him off completely, but I'm still picking Moses Itauma to win this in the first half of the fight.
And last question. You said on Talksport on Saturday, when you're on that show with Adam Cattrall, that you expect Usyk to vacate the WBO title. Why? Why do you think that's going to happen, and who do you think he'll face if he does vacate?
Um, it's hard to say at the moment. And it's really weird. You've got that whole phalanx of fighters: Fury, Joshua, Usyk, Ajit Cabell, Joseph Parker, Bacoli. None of them lined up with a fight at the moment. Wardley, none of them lined up with a fight at the moment. That's the instinct at the moment because of what's been put out there by Riyadh Season, that they're not going to underwrite a fight between Alexander Usyk and Joseph Parker. Um, if they were underwriting it, it would be going ahead. Simple as that. I just got a feeling that Usyk, he's got a couple of weeks left to vacate, hasn't he? Or decide he's going to. We'll see the outcome of this on Saturday night, and then I think that'll dictate it. But my instinct at the moment is that Usyk is going to vacate that title. God knows who he's going to face next. It better not be Derek Chisora.
Well, stranger things have happened, right?
Stranger things have happened. We don't know who Usyk's going to face next. It could be Tyson Fury.
Mm.
So, and that fight still has legs in my view. But yeah, it's a very weird time after 2 years of so many of these big heavyweight fights. Now we have a period of waiting to see all the time. So there definitely feels like there's a block, there's a writer's block in the narrative, the novel of the heavyweight division at the moment. And maybe Moses is the man who can and put the writing on the wall.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this week goes. Gareth, you'll be amongst it for Talksport. It'll be interesting to see how many of those heavyweights you mentioned actually turn up on Saturday and call out the winner. But I don't know if you're hearing anything, but I guess we'll
Haven't
see.
heard anything who's being out there, who's going to be out there, but I'm sure it'll be full. And obviously it's part of Esports Week. But like you say, it's going to be very warm out there. But I'm not regretting going.
Enjoy. Have a good week, Gareth, and I'll speak to you when you're back.
Mr. Agioff, it's always a pleasure to speak to you.